Okay, so once you have finished the last row of the chart that you're directed to work to before binding off the steek stitches, you will complete that row, and then on the next round you'll be working across the front left shoulder stitches, binding off the front neck steek stitches, working in pattern across the right shoulder stitches, binding off the first armhole steek. You'll work in pattern across the back stitches and bind off the next armhole steek stitches. The very last stitch that you're left with needs to go back over to the left front shoulder stitches. Then you're going to place all these sets of stitches onto separate pieces of scrap yarn. So both sets of front shoulder stitches you'll separate out on the back, shoulder stitches for the left back and the right back, and then the center back stitches will get placed on a separate piece of scrap yarn. So this is what it will look like at that point. Then you're going to go ahead and cut the steeks. You'll want to weave in the ends first, where you've been at the beginning of the round here. I tend to keep my ends at the start of the round, so I'm going to weave them in, not over the steek stitches, but towards the body, and then I can go ahead and cut open all of my steeks. Okay, so I did weave in the ends for that one armhole steek area. And before I cut, I'm actually going to give each of the steek areas just like a little bit of a steam with the iron, because we're not going to do any reinforcing to these steeks because we're working with Shetland wool. If you were working with something that was a smoother yarn or like a superwash or something that isn't 100% wool, you probably would want to do some kind of reinforcing to the steek area here. But with Shetland wool, you do not have to do that. But I am just going to give it a little bit of a steam with my iron. So I have the iron on the steam setting. I'm just holding it. I mean, it is touching it. It doesn't harm the yarn. And it just allows it to bloom a little bit, because with that woolen spun properties of this yarn, it's nice to just let it open up a little bit and have those fibers connect even more before cutting. So I'm just doing that pretty briefly to each of my steek areas. And then I will go ahead and cut. If you did want to give your steeks a little bit of reinforcement without doing something too labor intensive like the crochet reinforcement, then you can just use a needle felting tool and brush like this one here. So this is a multi needle felting tool, got 5 needles on it. You can place the steek onto the brush with the right side facing you, and you would just kind of go up and down the center area there that you're going to cut. Don't need to do it very much. It just starts to felt on the wrong side there. So, you know, if you felt like you wanted to have a little bit of reassurance there before cutting the steek, you could certainly do that. But as I said, with 100% Shetland wool like this, you don't need to do any reinforcing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'm going to cut it in the direction that I knitted in. So I'm aiming for this center line of stitches here. I had a 7 stitch steek. The 2 outside stitches there are in the background color, and this center column here is in the pattern color. So I'm just aiming to cut up the center of these V's, and obviously I'm cutting into the cast on and bind off edge as well. So just gone ahead, cut that open. So that's my neck steek cut open, and then obviously I'll be picking up stitches around the neck, so these steek flaps will fold into the wrong side. So I'll go ahead and do the same to my armhole steeks. So all my steeks are cut open now, both the armholes and the neck. I will be placing the live stitches of the shoulders back onto the needles, and then they'll get joined together with 3 needle bind offs, and then I'll be ready to pick up stitches around the armholes and the neck to do the finishing treatments.